Welcome to another episode of Market Overdrive. I am your host, residential real estate broker with Coldwell Banker. My name is Karla Mina. You'll find me here every Thursday at 2 o'clock promptly to elevate your real estate IQ. And in order to do that, I lead on my ModSquad. With me this afternoon, my co-host, Nick Memeti.
That's right.
Attention, Nick.
That's right. You will find me here every Thursday, approximately 5 minutes behind and late, to help her lead the show. But other than that, I will be here, though.
Do you care to introduce our other host?
The guests
No.
or our co-host?
Our co-host.
I really don't care to introduce him because I have to see him every day when I go to work.
What is it that you guys do?
Can I get a little shout out?
The reigning champion of iLoan, the guy that's probably done the most marketing on behalf of iLoan, the iLoan mascot, not because of his hype, but because of his popularity.
I don't like that. Why do you let him do that to you?
We're
Like,
just
that is so
teasing him.
rude.
It's all about a joke, and it's about
Nick,
see.
Graco said he's not feeling well today, and we're going to need to carry the show without
Well, we're going to announce the lead host of Market Overdrive and our favorite host of Market Overdrive, Graco Funes from iLoan. How you doing, man?
Hey, guys.
How's it going?
I'm doing pretty well, but I am going to lean on you guys today to carry me.
Today.
We'll
on the
do our
show.
best.
I'm a little raspy. I lost my voice. I'm not sick, though, but I did lose my voice. I don't know how I did.
The reason we're laughing
Probably
is
because-
because Suave, Rico Suave over there, comes in. It's like, hey, how are you? How's the market, Graco? It's doing
good.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then that's
No,
it.
I
But
don't.
today he said he needs us to carry the show.
Well, today he's raspy because the Cubs finally won a baseball game.
Woohoo!
They have played horribly, and he was probably cheering because they finally won. But let me break you some news. They're still going to lose the series.
That's not the reason why.
Hey, I'm from Chicago, but I'm going to tell you the Cubs are losing this.
Well, this guy being
Whoa,
from
never.
Chicago
You can't
and
do
being
that.
this guy being from Chicago and being a Yankee
just
fan
lost
still
viewers.
blows my mind. Like
Die-hard Yankee
I'm
fan.
so annoyed by that, but
Hey, nobody's
Whatever.
You're
perfect.
still
Everybody-
friends with him? Okay, enough about
Who's gonna
sports.
introduce
Let's
the
not do
really
this.
important people in the
yes,
room?
Please.
I'm going to have you guys introduce our special guest today.
Oh, wow, look at that. He is-
I thought you were going to do that, but okay. I got no problem doing it. You want to do it?
Why? You go ahead and do it. Do you even have the business cards over there?
I had it up just now.
Oh,
but
boy.
I don't want to mispronounce the name, but I have it. I know that they're both.
Well,
go ahead.
today's topic is it's very timely, right? Because we are in fourth quarter and everybody's thinking about selling or not thinking about selling or thinking, okay, we're going to have the holidays are upon us and it's going to start getting cold out there. So these are questions that we find in the field, right? As you know, Graco is the lender and I'm a residential broker. And so this is what we hear out there. And what we want to do here on our show is elevate your real estate IQ and really explain to you how to go ahead and tackle some of these things that are happening. So in order for us to educate you and elevate your real estate IQ, and we have two young ladies that are going to let us know how to sell a property in less than a week.
Two ladies that know their stuff.
They're what?
They got their stuff together.
So
From, what's it called? Sergio and Banks.
from Sergio and Banks, we
Sergio and
have
Banks.
Tina, Culver, Emilio, and Melissa Govedarica.
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 Microphone. Don't fall too far away from the microphone.
Sorry.
You're
It's all
just,
good.
I'm sorry for messing up your name.
Govedarica. She said it 3
Govedarica.
times before the show
I
started.
know, but
We
I was
asked
trying to
her 3
ignore you,
times.
and in doing so, I ignored you. I apologize. Truly, I do.
Tina and Melissa,
Don't worry
welcome to
about it.
Market Overdrive. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
There's 2 of you, so we're going to take some turns here, obviously, but we want to hear a little bit about your career, how you got started, or how long you've been in the business, or tell us something about you so that our listeners could be aware of why we picked a couple specialists to give us such an important topic of this. This is a very important topic, so we'll start with Melissa.
How I got in the business.
Just tell us a little bit of background, story.
Right after
bio.
college, I got into the business. I had a friend that owned a Century 21 company. So I said, okay, great, I'll come work with you until I find a real job. And I just never left. And it was in the western suburbs. At the time, it was in Oak Brook. And it was, I'm dating myself, but it was the late 80s. And that's how I got started. And I never left.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I would have never put you getting started in the late 80s.
I did, yes.
Or the 90s, probably. I wouldn't have done that either.
Oh, you're great.
I got you.
You're great.
I got you.
I love
got
you.
All right. So you got some time under your belt. Needless
I
to
have some
say.
time under
You-
my
you
belt. I took a
know,
little time off, not much, but about 5 or 6 years I had a lot of children in a lot of years, and then went back into it again in the 2000.
So I'm starting in the
force.
80s. We have a total timeline of about 30 years.
Close to it,
Right.
yeah.
So it's not like
yeah.
you just started yesterday. That's
No,
for sure. So
no.
you're definitely well versed. You sold a few homes in your life,
Yes, I have.
and you definitely are well versed to talk about this topic. Let's move on to the other young lady in the room. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's see what Tina's got.
Okay, well, I have about half that time under my belt. I've been in business for about 15 years. And
Another surprise right there, because I was going to give her 15 months. She looks really young. But wow, 15 years, cool.
I began right after graduating from law school. I was one of these law grads that knew that I would never practice law, but of course I ended up getting my degree and then going right into real estate and just have loved it, stuck with it, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it.
So you're not practicing a law now?
I am not practicing law.
Makes all the sense. I went and got a law degree before I became a loan officer. It's like you need to do that. I mean, it totally makes all the sense in the world.
Seriously?
No, God. I have some friends that recently went and got one after being in the mortgage industry for 20 years. They went and got their law degrees. They wanted me to go with them, and I'm like, you're crazy. I just can't even fathom doing them. I dropped out of college for a reason. There's no way I'm going back in.
Don't you love it how we ask someone a question, it goes back right to Nick?
No. This is all about her getting a law degree, which is so why the switch?
Why the
Why
switch?
like get such a prominent, important degree? I mean, lawyers, doctors, engineers, these are big time degrees.
Yeah,
What do you
know,
say?
And then saying-
Lawyer or
Boring
realtor?
for me.
Lawyer, realtor, lawyer,
I mean,
realtor?
yeah, why? Something dawned on you
Tina,
to do it.
defend our
The
profession.
real estate world was just so much more, I mean, for lack of a better word, exciting. Being a lawyer and sitting in an office, I couldn't be a trial attorney, I knew that. But I also couldn't just sit in an office and be on the computer and do kind of the mundane thing day in and day out. And now I'm saying bad things about attorneys. I not mean to do that.
No, it's fine. We hate them all. No, I'm just kidding.
The real estate world, it was exciting. It was different. I was able to communicate with people on a daily basis and help them out. And my law degree, I think, also helped me out from a contractual level, understanding contracts a little better. And
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's a very expensive piece of experience that you put
Yes.
together before you became a realtor. That's for sure.
Well, I have a question for the ladies.
Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off.
Hey, no, anything.
Please
so
do.
Sergio and Banks, I see them everywhere, right? And this is what attracted me to reach out to you guys, because I'm very big on social media, and the presence that you guys have on social media right now, at least from the way that I'm following you guys, is amazing. I want to know a little bit about the culture at Sergio and Banks. I know it's boutique. It's a little smaller. They've been around a little over 20 years now. And if you guys can touch on that, and then as far as the projects that you're doing currently, because you guys do a lot of new construction stuff.
we
And-
do.
and
We
the homes
do.
are
We do a lot of
amazing.
new construction. We also do a lot of resales. Everybody seems to think that we are.
Well, I guess that's all I
Yeah,
generally
right.
see is the new construction stuff.
But
But-
yes, I mean, we definitely are a boutique firm. It's a great company to work for. We've got a great support staff. People think that because we're a little bit smaller, that at times that has some kind of that we don't get it out there as much as we do, but we certainly do in the marketing.
We have a
and-
huge presence, and
Yeah.
and we produce. We just kick ass. We
You
get
guys
it
just
out
got
there.
you guys just got a really big accolade too. They just sold the highest priced home
In
in
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
7.5
$7.5 million.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
What did
Congrats.
that look like?
Yeah,
It
congratulations
was
on that one.
it was a rehab on Bellevue, and it had a large addition on it. It was about 10,000 square feet. It was done very contemporary, very non-Gold Coast looking, very sleek, sexy home, contemporary, very different than what you're going to see in the Gold Coast. So it was a great sale. It was a great buyer, cash deal, and it
Wow.
went together. I bet you would have liked that loan.
Yeah, that would have been a nice
Yeah,
one.
but it was, one of those things where it just happened very quickly.
And my next question would be, like, how long was it on the market? But I'm sure in that price point, it's probably longer. So it doesn't.
It's on the market 5 days.
It was off
5 days?
market.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was off market for a while, kind of like a pocketed listing, because I had a listing literally 3 doors down from there by the same a developer owned it, who did a spec home there at 34 Bellevue. And then we just put it on the market, and I would say probably maybe 7 months it was totally on the market, total market time, 7-8 months.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right, because you have to remember
Which
in
is
that
young
price
in the Gold
point.
Coast,
Yeah.
because
It
those
is.
single
Yeah.
families can linger for 2 years.
Yeah.
Awesome.
a
Well,
quick
obviously,
sale.
you have a wonderful resume. Why don't we get to our topic, Graco, and really tell our audience, how can we sell a property in today's market in less than a week, per se?
In less than a week.
Yes.
Well,
Give us
You're
your
on the
top.
spot.
What are we doing?
Price.
Top
Your
4?
secret.
Are we doing top
Price.
4 or
So-
top 5?
top 4, I think
Top
you
4.
said.
Top
right,
4.
Nick?
Okay.
Yeah.
4. Quattro.
So number 1, price. You can't change the location, so you have to be priced to sell and not overprice because you're just not going to bring people in. And the house has to look good. It has to be staged properly. It has to be decluttered.
You're moving on.
Don't jump to number.
Let's stay on the first one.
Let's stay on the first one for a
Oh,
minute.
you wanted to
First
linger. I
one.
thought you wanted to hammer it
No,
out.
this is
no,
linger,
no,
but
no,
you know
no,
when you come to my house and you say, Karla, and I'm telling you, okay, I'm afraid, right? The holidays are upon us, and I have children. I'm going to put the property on the market, and I'm Catholic, so I celebrate Christmas. I'm going to have to, like, what are people going to come in, and I got to do shopping, and I don't want people, the decorations and the Thanksgiving, and I should just wait till first quarter, maybe next summer. What would you advise to somebody with that? And then everybody's saying in the news that if you put it on the market now, you're not going to get the highest yield because it's a slow market, it's a soft market.
Depends on if they have to sell or not. What's their motivation? If they're just putting it up to see what they can get, then they can wait. But then again, if they wait, everyone has the same idea, and you're going to have an influx of homes listed in the spring. So it's supply and demand. If you really want to sell, you have a motivation, put it on when you need to sell it. And then if you want to wait till spring, you're competing with many more homes than you would be now. So
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think another good point is that this time of year, if somebody is looking at the property, they're a real buyer. They're not that casual. Well, I'm kind of. They are. There's too many other things going on.
They're not doing it because it's the in thing to do. It's
right.
not
They're doing
summertime
it
shopping
because
for a
they
house.
have to move, and they're a very serious buyer. So I like to remind sellers of that. And if you're priced right, I mean, it's you look at the comps and you price it right, and we're in a huge city here in Chicago. Every month of the year, there are people looking to buy a place. It's not like, we're not some tiny little town somewhere where, I don't know, I don't feel like Chicago or the big cities are as affected by the time of year as.
No, I don't. Yeah,
I
if
agree.
somebody's going to
Especially
schlepp their
last
kids around and
year.
look at homes, they have a motivation to buy.
So let's dwell on price a little bit more. If I'm a seller and I want to move my house and I want to contact any one of you three doing the show today about how to sell it and sell it quick, to me, it sounds like we might have flip-flopped the order. It seems like price is probably the number one thing.
It is.
Would you say it's your most important out of the four that we're going to get to later?
Price and packaging.
Okay.
So you want good price and you want the place to look good in your photography, the way you market it. You're not taking pictures on a cell phone. You're getting a professional photographer in there. You're doing it right.
That's super important.
So those two
She's
things.
doing it. You're doing it again.
Let's just giving it away.
What's
Just
the
giving it
line
away.
price?
But let's
No,
water it down.
Well, what I want to get to is if I'm a seller, how often do you have to deal with the battle of you're saying price is important, and the famous saying in life is everything has a price when it comes to real estate, especially. But it's got to be the right price.
Right.
So, how often is it? Tell us some of the horror stories when you say a house is worth, let's say, $500,000, but a seller says, "Nope, don't put it up there unless it's $6," because maybe someone will give it to us.
Right.
I mean, what kind of? Tell some of these listeners
What's
why
my
that's a big
counterpoint?
mistake. Yeah,
So-
why is that a big mistake to do that? If you're saying price is
It's
important,
a big mistake because you're going to linger on the market. Buyers are educated. Everyone's on the internet. Everyone has access to closed comps, whether you're a broker or not. And if you're going to overprice your house, no one's going to come to look at it.
I love it. I think that's key, actually. I want to go back to, just hone in a whole pricing strategy, because if you're listening and you're thinking about selling a property in today's marketplace, I know you're getting like mixed reviews, right? One newspaper is telling you there's no inventory, so there's no competition. So you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to be the only property, so obviously demand. So I'm going to price high. But then, you're sitting on the market and you're wondering, what did I do wrong? So I think it's very key for you as a seller to understand that pricing is key. And you can't be overzealous about the opportunity that is the only product on the market, because you still have to create value. So leading on to what you're saying as far as packaging, you have to create that value for that buyer. So then you go into the staging mechanism of how, when you're talking about packaging it too, right? So it's like pricing it, but you also got to create value within the product that you're selling. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
sounds like she's going to get into number 2 right now, since we already did.
No,
Let's just do it.
Because let's go back a little bit into the whole pricing too, though.
Right.
Like, as far as right now, we're in fourth quarter. So when your realtor comes in with market data, are you pulling just the last 3 months of what occurred in the market, the sales trends? Or are you going back 9 months? Or how do we advise our clients to
An
price a
appraiser
property?
goes back 3 months.
Right.
And if they can't find comparable comps with the same features and benefits, they'll go back 6. But 3 months is typically, Chicago market changes on a dime. So it ebbs and it flows. There's no rhyme nor reason. Oh, it's fall, it's spring. you just never know. So you need to look at the last 3 months, and particularly you need to look at the closed comps. That's very, very important. That's key. That's your evidence. And then look at what your competition is and what the active comps are.
So back to price. If the seller is done a little bit of his homework and he sees on some of these websites that
Zillow
are free,
or
we don't like to mention them.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay. We get it.
Okay.
So he sees that, homes like his are on these websites and they're overpriced, but they're active. And you know that they won't sell because it just hasn't been happening. But, like the whole neighborhood got together and said, I think it's worth this much. Let's all, put them on the market for $50,000 or $60,000 more than what they're really worth. How do you handle that? They're like, I saw it on Zillow. Actives, do you just tell them that actives really don't mean much? It's what closed?
I'm like, it's your competition, but it's just not something that you're gonna. You have to look at the closed comps. That's your evidence.
Right.
This is what it's worth of what a buyer is willing to pay. It's not worth what you want.
Right.
So buyers set the market. So I think to look at the closed comps is proof that a buyer was willing to pay this for this product and this location and the same features and benefits are comparable. So this is a very valid, strong indication of what your house is worth.
Yeah, and I also want to take it a little bit further. I love what you're saying about, look at the close comps, and what she means by comps is comparables, what has recently sold in the area. But, to be honest, I actually go back 9 to 10 months because we are in a changing market. So if I'm looking at 3 months behind, I'm looking at, height of the market, which is the summer. So, of course, those are going to yield higher returns because everybody's buying in the summer months. So I go back actually to look at a softer kind of market, which is the beginning of the year, to kind of tell me, okay, we're entering the fourth quarter. We could anticipate that, the highest yield is going to be June, July, and August. That's where the height of the market, that's what a property sold for. But if we go back and be a little bit conservative, just acknowledge the fact that in this marketplace, you may have a buyer that's going to yield you January or February or even, December, November numbers of last year. So it's something to be aware of when you're pricing a property. And again, don't be oversellers. You have to know, what's the lowest you're going to yield and what's the potentially highest you're going to yield. But then as marketing agents, what we do is we create that value again and what you're going to go with next. I think that we kind of cover value. We can talk about, staging now. Do you agree?
Yeah. Number 2. Let's get to number 2.
Yeah, so number 2, very, very important to have your house decluttered, to look as clean as possible. Depersonalize, stage it very nicely, rearrange furniture. We actually, sometimes people just have horrible taste, and it's a very nice home.
She's just like, I don't like your couches.
Well, so sometimes you have to just really tell them. Or perhaps, the hard conversations like, the litter box smells. Let's move it in the garage, or
This is going to be therapy for realtors because now we're going to start talking about that one client whose house it smells like urine, and you're like,
yeah,
oh,
true. Yeah. And we've had many of those. But
you've been to my house. I didn't remember selling my house.
Your house smells worse than urine and cat urine.
You have never been to my house, so let's just
I
get
don't
that out
ever
of the way.
want to go, but I could just imagine.
So it sounds like number 2 is presentation. Let's just classify it as number 2, presentation.
Presentation, making sure the house looks great. If there's repairs that need to be done, if you can paint, you want to get them their highest price. So, hey, you need to paint, maybe new carpet. Let's move some certain things into the garage or the basement.
Take down an abundance of frames and pictures that are just too much or whatever
let's
the case
take down
is.
all your tchotchke bobblehead collection and just put it all away so it's a clean look. So it appeals to a lot of people.
Deal breaker.
You can't put away all your pictures of Graco in your room. You got to take down Nick.
My statue that's in Graco's bedroom has to come down.
You guys got to take all that stuff down.
Yeah, our bromance will have to be shut down
officially.
But really important because everyone shops by looking at pictures, and if they look at the pictures, you
lost them. They're not interested in the house.
Well,
they dismiss.
This is important. I've heard this.
They'll dismiss a house if
I've
they
heard
don't like what they see.
No, this is
I find
crazy.
myself doing that all the time.
And I'll
this is not
touch
gonna
this
work.
story because you guys probably can't, but I can.
Why?
I've heard
Please
of people
don't get
that
off.
backed out of a deal. They went in, and I'm not going to say where or how because it was really sensitive, but I've heard of a situation where a couple went in to buy a house, then they saw photos of the sellers and didn't like the
look,
everything. Yeah.
I've heard that.
And they totally walked out of that house like no interest.
That's terrible.
And it's the worst thing to say that's happening in 2017. Well, it happened 2 years ago, but they felt that there was going to be some kind of heebie-jeebie over them by the ethnicity.
I sell property.
It wasn't. I don't want. I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, please.
But that's what happened. So it's like, we're proud of our families and we're proud of our religion or whatever the case might be.
I'm sure Nicolas and Mia's pictures are going to sell anything. I should just put their pictures everywhere wherever I go.
But I've heard of this, is what I'm saying. The presentation.
Like Tina said, depersonalize it.
Yeah.
Take down. Yeah.
So. And I like that you said presentation, Nick, but quite honestly, it's not presentation. It's staging. You're staging a lifestyle, because what I do is I go into a property and I see the space. I come in and I look at the space and I find that one key room in that house that's going to sell the house. And then we're going to blow up and sell that lifestyle. So again, we're not presenting anything. We're staging it to look like what we know the buyer's going to want from that one product. Right. So there's a lot of science that goes behind that, but you may not understand it because all you do is
I heard another,
you want to neutralize it to appeal to the masses.
Right.
So you just want it to be very,
NBA athlete had a house for listed in the western suburbs, and I'm not going to say who it was, but this I remember very well too, because I talked to the listing agent because I actually was going to look at the house, but I didn't like the school district, right? For those.
It always goes to personal
He had an S&M room. He had an S&M room.
We are not taking the show
He had
there.
an S&M room. Now hold on a second. Families are coming in, and you have an S&M room.
Yeah, that's yes. Well, somebody.
This is exactly what we're talking about. It's your lifestyle.
You gotta lock that door.
You gotta.
I was
No, you can't lock the door. If you're buying the house, you want to see every room.
Yeah.
Why do you guys take the conversation there all the time?
It happened.
I'm talking about staging and maybe like an office
That's
room.
reverse staging. Clean your shit up.
I'm talking about a room that was once used as a den. That was. Oh my gosh.
It happened.
Why do you take the conversation there?
Because that's what I do.
That's no
I
one's
take it
buying
there. So
those in the
presentation
house.
is number 2, and it is our.
Yeah.
If you're
is
ever
a
calling
very-
me to do a
Along with
listing presentation,
presentation,
please
you're gonna
shut
have
down
great
the whatever room
photography.
he
The
just
S&M
said.
room.
The S&M whatever room.
All right.
I had somebody that wanted to. That
Melissa did
I
not
sold
follow.
a house that had a panic room, and we couldn't show it to people
Because it's their safety.
because it's their safety. Yep.
That makes a little bit more sense.
They had a panic room.
And if you buy it, then we can show it to you.
Once it went under contract, it went hard, earnest money. Then we were able to show it to them.
Because it's their safety. That's respectful.
That's what
but
I would have done with
leave,
the S&M room.
No.
It was
Hard
Can't
earnest
walk
money
into that
first.
bedroom.
Take it down.
You can't walk into that 1-bedroom, even though we're selling a 5-bedroom house, because there's something in there we don't want. I mean, I'd be like,
That's creepy.
a dead body? What do you got in there? Like, no, I don't want to buy this house.
Okay,
I've seen
for
so many crazy, it's crazy what some people have in their houses. I mean, it really is. And for them to think that,
But
You're
we're not
selling it.
judging you. We're not. We're here to sell your property, get you the highest yield.
Well, you have a right to live your life the way you want to live it, but when it's time to sell it, you
have
might
to
turn people off.
bring it down a notch.
Right.
Yeah.
So number 1, price is everything.
Price is king.
Number
Location
2.
is king, but we can't control that.
Well,
Price
every
we can-
location has a price,
Price
though.
we can control. Exactly.
You might not like this
Exactly.
location, but it's going to come with a different price. So price kind of
Exactly.
ties in the location. Number 2, presentation is everything.
Staging.
Staging, which is also presentation. So or decluttering. Yeah. Okay.
Staging and decluttering, yes.
Okay, we're not going to argue. It's staging.
Minor
now.
repairs.
We're always going to a lot of people hate that process, though. They hate it because let's take it back to a couple shows that we did early this year where people are saying we want that product to be ready. We want to move in. No one has time to, we're young, we're busy, we have children, we're thinking about having children. We don't have time to buy a house and then fix it and do these repairs. And sometimes even an older kitchen is going to turn away a buyer. So you have to understand that what that buyer is looking for is something that's move-in ready. So what does that mean to that next buyer? Unfortunately, once you become a seller, you're going to compete with the market, right? It becomes a commodity. It's going to compete. So now you got to position it very well, right? So you have to not just declutter, not just turn that bedroom, that den into a bedroom or whatever it is that you are using it for, but you have to create that value. So you have to paint, you have to repair, you have to get rid of that carpet. And unfortunately, some of you moved in and bought that property and said you were going to paint, and you never did.
You never did.
Right? Do you get that a lot? They never did. And now when you come in and you're like, you're going to have to paint, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
How much money are they leaving on the table by not doing it?
And that's just the.
Oh, girl, slow down. You're going to crash. Here we go. Nitro question. The nitro question.
What is that?
The nitro question, which we'll have the nitro question.
nitro
It will be
question.
sponsored by Sergio and Banks. Since you guys are here today, we'll have you guys get a free plug in there today.
Thank you.
Normally I give out 1 nitro question, but since there's 2 of you, we're gonna throw out 2, and we're gonna make sure they're totally
I'm
opposite.
scared of the nitro
So
question.
you
Me
can't
too. You should
piggyback.
be.
This is gonna
Should
be
I?
easy.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the amount of experience you've had and the things you've seen. Your nitro question, you don't have to answer right now. You could let it brew for a little while. We'll come back and get to it about 20 minutes later.
I would have forgotten.
Melissa, your biggest fear about the real estate market, its condition, moving forward, whatever that might be. All right?
Let me marinate on that.
You marinate on that one. Your biggest fear, the thing that like has you, maybe on occasion when it dawns on you, up at night a little bit. Tina.
Melissa.
In the spirit of you leaving being a lawyer, which I don't blame you, I would have done the same thing. What is your favorite part of the industry you decided to join in total? Like what, or maybe the decision on why you decided to become a realtor. What's the favorite, what's that one thing that attracted you the most to it? Or what is it about the day-to-day that you actually enjoy the most, period? So
wow, you're getting deep. These are kind of serious questions. Like,
Karla,
are you don't even.
if you could get rid of one person in this world, who would it be?
Well.
Okay, there's only 2 nitro questions. You don't have to answer that. We already know the answer.
Oh my God.
So we'll save those 2 questions for you, and we'll jump right back over to what we were talking about. What did we establish here so far? We have 2 out of the way. Two things.
Can I answer mine?
No, you can't answer your nitro question. You have to wait till the end of the show.
We know why you got into the industry.
Yeah.
Check.
And you don't get the. So where do we leave off? Number 1.
You are listening to Market Overdrive. Thank you so much for sharing Thursday afternoon with us. Today, we are touching on a very timely topic, which is how to sell your home fast. And in order to give you that information and elevate your real estate IQ, we brought in Tina and Melissa. And so we've talked about pricing, which is very important, and of course, staging, which is the tip number 2 per se. So let's move on to number 3. What would you say is number 3? Who wants to answer it, Tina?
Sure, I'll answer it. I think availability of the agent is very, very important, as well as the availability from the seller side to have their place there for us. So whether or not it's in the evening or a holiday or whenever it might be, it's super important to have access at all times, basically.
Have you ever had a horror story where you just, like, it's almost impossible to show the house?
Sure.
You said it's so easy, like it happens all the time.
Well, there's a lot of different things, especially if a house, for instance, has a tenant in it, or a condo is tenant occupied, and that's a tough. That's challenging a lot of times because the tenants aren't necessarily as willing, and of course we have to work around the tenants' rights. So
multi-units have to be a real nightmare then.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Sometimes even the sellers sabotage themselves, right? Because if you have a new mom, they outgrew their space and they're in a 3-bedroom condo, and then now they want a 4-bedroom single family and they're moving. They sabotage themselves because they're like, well, my son or my baby sleeps during 9 a.m. to 10, so no showings at that time. And what happens to us as realtors? Then we have to go back into the marketplace and tell our colleagues we can't show the property during those hours. But then their buyers are saying, hey, I only have a.m. before I go to work, and then p.m. after I get out of work. And if I can't see it, let's move on to the next property. And then they go out and see the next property, which happened to me this weekend, actually. I called a realtor, and I asked her for 2 opportunities, and she came back to me and said no, because they had guests. The sellers had guests there, and they didn't want to show it over the weekend. And I said, okay, well, my client and I went to go see another property, and she ended up liking that property and wrote an offer. Then the agent called me back and said, hey, Karla, when can we get you in the property? We apologize for not getting you in this week. And I said, well, I apologize.
Tell your sellers they can kiss my ass.
No, I didn't say that. Why do you have to be so
That's
rude?
what you were thinking.
No, I did not actually, because I felt bad. I really thought that was and she was so accommodating. She was so sweet. Yeah. And as realtors, all we could do is, try to accommodate, but it is a disservice because once you're on the market, you're competing and you got to make yourself available. So I think that's a great one. Yeah.
So it's not to say that they can't have these restrictions. They can definitely tell you that certain hours we cannot show the place for what our kids, or you have to still live your life, but don't expect it to be sold within a week, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Or,
there's some things that you can't do.
The dog walker can't make it, or, I mean, there's all different.
Yeah. I mean, you have to show it to sell it. And if you can't get in.
So availability.
Yeah.
Number 3,
completely.
Accessibility and availability. Got that?
Yeah, and just know the market, right? If you're the only property in a half-a-mile radius of that one, and you're amazing, you're unique, or maybe you're like a 4-unit building and you're amazing and you're priced right, then create that demand and do a one-day showing per se. But understand that there's different strategies for every property. But I agree. I mean, value is created with the presentation, the property that you're selling, and of course you got to show it in order to sell it. So that's 3 ways of getting a property sold right away. Do you agree, Graco?
So what if you can't? So what if we can't show it? What are tricks of the trade?
Don't expect it in less than a week.
No, you can't sell
No.
it.
Do whatever you want. Just don't expect it in less than a week, man.
There has to be some, creative workaround.
If you can't sell it, you have to have a come to Jesus talk with the seller.
Come to Jesus.
And you have to pretty
That's
much
fair.
say, hey, listen, let's temporarily take this off of the market until you can figure out something with your pet care, your child care, your work schedule, or whatever, and then we'll put it back on. So, that's pretty much the only way you can do it unless you break in to show it. So,
Right.
which we're not doing, right?
And it's going back to the analytics of the situation, right? If you understand that market time for that area is 15 days, right? And you're trying to, there's no other product like yours. You're the best property. You paint it. It looks great. You got stainless steel, granite, quartz, whatever people are using now. It's updated. Then you know you have the best product. And you can pretty much play and dance with the market as you see fit. You can underprice, per se, if that's the right, marketing campaign for you, because you don't want to bother your tenants. So underprice a little bit, make it a sweet, shiny penny, put it on the market, and then you do one-day showings. And that works because then you're not bothering your tenants. But you have to understand the marketplace. If you've had a lot of competition, there may not be that sweet spot, and you may, yield less because you applied the wrong strategy. So again, lean on the experts. Work with someone who understands the marketplace, understands time on market, what is the average, what has sold. Look at the past comps, and of course, like you ladies, I mean, you sold one property nearby, and you were hired to sell the next one because you understand that block, you understand that marketplace, and you kind of control the market at that point, right? So.
Well, you're the last one to sell in the area, so you're considered, the expert, especially if it's sold and closed at a really good price.
Yeah, you're like, listen, I created that comp, so I know what it's worth. I'm gonna price it just a little bit, sexier per se, or more appealing, and then create a demand by showing it once or twice. But you have to be strategic. You can't just say, I'm not gonna show it whenever people call you, because unfortunately, if you're gonna sell and you want to sell fast, I love it when my clients are like, wait, what? I got to start packing. It's like, yeah, isn't that why we had this conversation? Isn't that why you hire us?
Yeah.
So we can sell your home.
So let's recap it. Let's take it from the top.
Take it from the top. Tina?
One.
Yes, take it from the top. Okay, number one, pricing is of utmost importance, of course. Look at the comps. Price is super important. Staging, extremely key as well. And even getting the photos done, and great photos, not the cell phone photos, none of that. You have to have a professional
it's just terrible.
photographer
Those
come
are
in there.
horrible. They don't close the toilet lid. It's just
People
these
will
cell
just
phone
pass
photos.
right over it.
Yeah.
Availability, and then marketing, of course.
That's number 4.
That's number 4.
We're jumping straight to number 4.
Are you ready for number 4?
That's what realtors do.
Are
We
you
just
ready?
Give it away. We just give out all the information.
Are you ready?
We're
We're
ready.
ready
We're
for
going to
number
be
4.
ready. But yes, I agree. Marketing is so key. And I like, when we started the show, you said something about a lot of people don't think that we have huge reach, right, with the brokerage that you're with. I think it just depends on the individual realtors and the kind of noise that you make, right? Noise with respects to marketing for each brand. I mean, I'm with Coldwell Banker, and we have high reach, right? Coldwell Banker buys everything in bulk, so we have, tons of exposure. But I think that because of my own niche, we're able to, showcase our properties to other agents. We meet agents through the show. So we have huge reach within ourselves and how we market those properties. But going back to the basics, it gets to the point where some agents are, like you said, taking photos of the property with their phones.
Yeah.
Hey, Samsung's
Was that
got
you?
really good phone. No, I'm not an agent. I'm not an agent. No, I think that this topic for me is arguably the most important one. Because in
Marketing.
and I mean, I'm a firm believer in
Because
marketing.
he's on the outside looking in.
Well,
right?
Well,
everyone.
Don't get the strategy wrong by mispricing
Yeah.
it. I go
Yeah.
back to one.
Well, the marketing is, it could go in a lot of, the money can be spent in so many different ways. It's not about how much money is spent marketing. It's about how smart you market the property. And, there's only so many people that are going to be interested in buying your house. The whole world is not interested.
Exactly.
So finding an agent and or a group of people to help you sell your house and pinpoint to get it to the right people that are interested. How do you sell these $7 million houses?
Yeah.
Not everybody isn't
You
in the market to buy
advertise.
it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's very important on how you presented that. The
What do you do,
photography.
Melissa?
Well, you advertise in magazines, and social media helps. The MLS is really, honestly and truly the Bible. So, and what happens from there is it just filters out to all the websites. And that's where people shop online. Like, I've been in this a long time, as you guys know. we didn't have that kind of marketing back then. So we'd send out flyers, snail
you make
mail.
It seem like it was a long time
well,
ago.
this was before
Things
really
changed.
internet, guys.
I remember.
So how are you selling your
1995. I remember.
So it was,
That's when I started.
we'd put
Wasn't there a
flyers on
book?
the door.
Yep.
We would mail mailers out. So
Yep.
there wasn't this
There was a
online
listing book.
access where people can literally shop and kind of, par down their list of what they want to see online. So very, very important to have that. It's
So
probably
you're telling people to go back to basics. None of all this craziness, Matterport, 3D
No, I think that's
tours.
wonderful. I think all of that stuff is great. I really do. It's, drone shots and all these wonderful tours, and I think it's great. It's marketing. It shows your client that you're ahead of the game, that you have your thumb on the pulse of what's happening in terms of marketing and getting your product out there. And I think Sergio and Banks does that really well.
I love it.
We
I agree
do.
with you.
We
I like
do.
what you said. I think key, if you're listening and watching this and you're thinking about selling in this market, it's having a pulse. I think it's the most important aspect of it because, yeah, we can hire a photographer. They can come in and take photos. But if you have a pulse on the market, you understand what you're selling and how it needs to be showcased to that potential buyer. You also said that you had a network. The property was a pocket listing before you dumped it in the MLS.
And you do that
So,
quite.
right.
Yes.
So we're giving you a lot of secrets here. You're not getting it because you're not in the business, so you don't understand it. But she did say, the holy grail is the multiple listing service. Yet earlier on the show, you said that you also applied the whole concept of pocket listings, which is when a realtor doesn't put the property on the MLS and she markets it within her network, right? So, there's a lot of things that are going on, and that's what makes you a great realtor versus someone who's just saying, okay, I'm going to get my license. I'm going to put this property on the market. I'm going to put a for sale sign, and it's going to sell because the MLS is going to bring another realtor is going to see it in the MLS, and another realtor is going to come in and sell the property for me. That's not what listing agents do. We work very, very
You
hard
have
for
to
a
get on the
client.
phone, call your network of people, call your broker associates and your colleagues in the industry. Hey, I have something coming up. Do you have anyone that's interested in this? I know you showed my listing here. I've got something here, and it's just kind of like that. Tina and I do that all the time. It's just that, networking out to your people.
Yeah.
And there's something called TAN, which is called Top Agent Network, that we utilize as well. It goes out to top agents in the city, and it's kind of like a little preview. Hey, this is what we have coming up. It's hitting the MLS in a week. However, you're a top broker. You're a strong negotiator. You've got your thumb on the pulse. Do you have a client? Come look at this.
I love it. I love it.
So-
And you're listening to this on Market Overdrive. We're here every Thursday. We give you advice on how to sell your property fast. Top Agent Network, it's really a good resource. And I just want you to understand that selling real estate is, again, not as simple as saying we're going to get our license and selling it. You're talking about a lot of legwork, marketing, understanding value, how to create value for that buyer, how to position that property so it can compete. And also, you're talking about Top Agent Network, which not a lot of people have access to, right? And
Right.
you're selling that pocket listing before it goes on the market. So what happens if you promote your listing among your realtor sphere before it even hits the multiple listing service? So already you're creating that value for your seller because you're creating that demand, and you're showcasing it to your network of agents. And then once you dump it in the multiple listing service and it's accessible to all the realtors, right? Because it doesn't matter whether you're with Redfin, Coldwell Banker, Sergio and Banks, you're going to get access to the multiple listing service, and you're going to see this property. But by the time your property hits the market, you've already created, demand. Then you maybe have an offer before it hits the market, and then another agent who has seen it on the MLS brings in an offer. You just created value for your seller because you created a higher yield for your seller by applying these tactics. So make sure that when you're interviewing a realtor that you're asking for all these questions, because I know some of you are only asking, are you going to host an open house every weekend? Or, are you going to put a for sale sign?
The
Or
big
where you
question is, what's your commission?
Oh, yeah. Well,
That's
look,
what
she
they
took
want
it
to
there.
know. What's
So
your
how to sell
commission?
your property fast?
Ooh. Number 5. Let me go.
How much you gonna pay me?
Scratch that 4 or 5. Make sure
Well,
you
that's
pay
what they
out,
ask. I mean,
Make sure
'cause
you pay out well.
Can you blame them?
No.
If you buy a car, how much do you charge? If you know,
Yeah.
That's always
she
the
has a
question,
point.
right?
She's got a point.
Well, speaking of points.
what are
Speaking of
what are
points,
your loan costs?
Speaking of points.
actually.
What but you know what I mean?
Tina's
That's
quiet. Tina's like,
I got to turn the topic away from loan costs real quick. we still have a program to follow here, and we have to get to some questions that we asked you earlier. 'Cause we
oh
need to know-
geez,
we
I
need to
put those out
know-
of my mind.
Nitro.
Yeah, see, that's why we do that. We want you to fall asleep, and then we surprise you again later. So we'll jump over to Tina first. And Tina, you're going to tell us, instead of becoming a lawyer, you decided to become a realtor. But more importantly, what is it every day, or I should say, what is your favorite part of this job or this career? What is it that brings gratification to say that you made the right decision?
Well, I think being an advocate for my clients, which is what originally drew me, I think, to law school, was being able to be an advocate for my client, and that carried over into the real estate career. Listening to the clients, listening to their needs and their wants and their desires, and ultimately finding it for them. And once that's found, that process is obviously can be lengthy. And can be a little bit challenging at times, but it's just a great to have that interaction with the people every day, and then at the end having that closing and the smiles and the happiness and all that goes along with finding a new home or selling
So
the
you're
home.
trying to feel like a lawyer in a real estate job, being an advocate for your client.
Yeah, but it's different. It's a lot more fun.
A lot more fun.
than
I've always
sitting
said
in
this
an
about
office in
lawyers.
front.
I'm like, God bless you, because no one really goes to a lawyer because they have good news to share.
Right.
They're usually just
Right.
they're in the soup. They got a
They
problem.
feel violated.
It's always an
You
antagonistic
want somebody
kind
to
Yeah.
defend you from someone who's wrong you, right? So you're
Right.
not in the right state of mind, and you have to deal with those relationships. And whether you do the best job that you can for that person, they're still in that funk, right?
Yeah.
Real estate, you share so much. We're our clients' therapists.
Yeah,
I know
very
why
true.
they're selling. I know when the wife gets frustrated because they can't find something, or the husband's like, "Oh, there's not enough properties, and now the prices are so high. How the heck do you justify that price?" It's overwhelming, and you almost want to cheer for them because you know how bad they want it. And it's a home, right? It's their oasis.
Yeah.
That's where they're gonna live.
It's very personal.
It's Yeah, very
personal. So
It's
many
an emotional
emotional.
sale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike commercial real estate, which is all about numbers, it's a numbers game. And people don't always sell their house for good reasons. They sell their house for
Sometimes,
death,
yeah.
divorce, loss of job, sickness. So you deal with
Crappy
you are a
neighbor.
therapist.
Crappy
Crappy
neighbor.
Oh,
neighbor.
he sells their house.
Crappy
for
neighbor.
Oh wait, you did.
I have had so many people next door to me move, so please stop.
I was like, nobody
Stop.
sells that.
You
All right.
sold your house for because of a
really
crappy
cool,
neighbor.
though.
No, they keep selling theirs next to me. I don't know what's going on. So, all right, Melissa, let's get to your question. Biggest fear, since you have a plethora of experience.
Oh,
You told
biggest
us
fear.
you ratted yourself out.
It's
Told
not
us you started in the 80s.
It's not one fear.
Oh,
Not
okay.
one fear. But I do
To the-
have fears, and sometimes they do keep me up at night. I mean, obviously, the most recent debacle in real estate was the crash in 2009-10, which that we always hope that doesn't happen again, because at that time I had was representing a lot of builders, and the market just turned, and people got
Well,
hurt.
a crash is a big.
So that was a huge fear, and you hope that never happens again.
Well, right.
Interest rates, I love where they're at. As you guys all know, they're great, they're attractive, but I sold real estate when interest rates were at 12, 13, 14%.
So that's not a big fear.
So it's not a big fear. So sometimes you fear you don't get fired if you don't sell something in a timely fashion, and your client thinks that it should, and a house or a project or something that sells very close sells, and they're like, well, why didn't that person purchase our unit? Well, they looked at both, so you have to justify that and explain to them why, and it's not always easy, and I have clients that call me at 10, 11, 12 at night because they have $12 million on the streets to sell things, and things aren't moving, the market's slow. So not necessarily fears, but more stressful scenarios that come with the job because of all the money involved and the
I love
emotional
that.
sale
So,
of everyday sales.
But here we are. Everybody in the world's, I guess, biggest work fear is getting fired.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter what you do, whether you're a pro athlete or a celebrity on a movie set, you can get fired. So
everyone can.
So you said it best, but unfortunately, it's kind of unfair because the seller could fire an agent, but if they're not taking the advice, and specifically, like, let's say these 4 items,
Sure.
You're getting fired because they didn't listen to you. So if a house sat around for a year and a half, it was overpriced, not staged right, or decluttered.
You'd be surprised, Nick, how
They
how
never let you
often-
show it.
Yeah, you'd be
So-
surprised how often they don't own up to that.
Right.
So you
because they came to you for
you need
advice,
to
and it was-
remind them,
yeah.
and then that's your time. That's
Yeah.
your time to say, hey, listen, I told you back 3 months ago, this, that, the other. We really need to move this. It all boils down to sometimes to a seller's urgency to sell or their need to sell. What's their purpose? Why do they need to sell?
And I think that that's what makes you a different realtor as well. It's the fact that you care that much, because a lot of people look at real estate and they're like, oh, look at the clothes that they wear, look at the cars that they drive. And it's all about like that image of a salesperson, because a lot of people are looking, you know, who are not practicing real estate, who don't get our business. They are just thinking, oh, they're doing it for the sale, right? And you're here in our show talking about like how this affects you at night. You can't sleep because you have fears of just losing the listing. But more importantly, your clients have money spread out. They've made these investments and they're leaning on you to, you know, sell these properties and get them the cash that they invested. And so you have to understand that real estate is very intricate. It's, you know, there's a lot of processes that go in place. And yes, we're entrepreneurs. And yes, we get up every day and we do it all over again. But we do it because we care. And we practice differently than most people who are only in the business for 1 or 2 years, because our clients actually they're heard by us. We know what their goals are, right? So that's what makes a difference between realtors, and I think that's why you're so successful.
Well, and you need the referral business. You know, you really want them to know you care. So.
Right, yeah. And that's, again, you know, give your clients, and this is something that I say, give your clients the kind of service you expect for yourself, and you're going to have return business forever. And I tell my clients all the time, I don't want just this transaction. I want your mom's transaction, your brothers, your cousins. And in the marketplace that I work in, that's what my clients do, because they understand that we listen to what they want, right? You're selling today because of why. And then we apply that why into the strategy, and we say, well, in order for us to get you to the next property, unfortunately, we're going to have to, you know, sell here at a $5,000 less than we anticipated. But remember, I gave you that cushion. I told you the lowest was this, and we're within that paradigm. So let's go ahead and just, you know, write it off. And then you're going to get it at a discount from where you're purchasing, because now you got the bigger house and you're getting that at a discount. So it's kind of a wash. And now you have, you know, you've reached your goals, and that's what we're there to guide our clients. Right, Nick?
Preach.
Preach. Is she done talking yet? Is she done talking?
You know, we do have guests.
We do have guests. There is 4 other microphones here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Take your turn, Karla. So,
I have a lot to say today.
So your biggest fear is essentially a nightmare client that won't let you list it at the right price, take down the weird pictures, and get rid of the S&M room. Won't let you go inside the S&M room, and of course doesn't want you to market the property. That would be the nightmare.
Yeah,
client,
with high expectations, and they're not willing to execute.
I mean, there's a reason houses stay on the market for a year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it happens. I mean, we can log on right now in the hottest market that we've seen in the last 10 years, and there is still going to be a house that is sitting around for a year. It's overpriced. There's something majorly wrong with it on the inside. I mean, it happens.
Well, it creates this, like, crazy thing in everyone's mind, too. Why is this house on the market for a year? It stigmatizes it. It's suspicious to people. Like, you know, what's wrong with this house? Other than, you know, maybe price, but what else is wrong with it? Because price is negotiable, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, we do have to go into our reporter in the studio, Graco Funes.
We have a reporter. We're going to do a report now.
Because we talk about what's trending in the market, because obviously we're realtors and lenders, and we're in the trenches, and we know what's happening. But today we want to bring in some news that's trending in the marketplace. Graco, what do you have for us?
Yeah, super cool. Recently in Crane's Chicago business, there's a new boutique hotel planned for Fulton Market. So I have a quick question here for everybody today. Everybody knows Fulton Market District is a hot neighborhood. You got Google Midwest headquarters now in there. You got McDonald's down the street. Corporate headquarters is being built out. But at 310 North Peoria, a new 28-room hotel, according to the zoning application that went to the city of Chicago, is going to be built.
28 rooms?
28 rooms.
It's not even big enough for me and my family.
Right. They're going to do an addition, 5th floor and 3,000 square foot ground floor reserved for commercial use. My question is, with these new boutiques or these new hotels that are being built in these neighborhoods now, is that good or bad? You know, what are the pros and the cons? Because I could think of some cons. I know there's a lot of good.
What do you think it's a con out of it?
Well, I want to go round robin here and get a take on, especially from you guys, the experts that are selling this stuff.
Well, I think those boutique hotels have done wonders for the Fulton Market District. I mean, what it was, you know, 5 years ago or so, I mean, it's completely different now. I think it's been wonderful for the West Loop and the Fulton Market District.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it prices out, though, eventually we'll start pricing out a potential buyer to be able to purchase in the neighborhood?
Sure.
In what respect? Like,
as far as price point, like, will it become an area that's
unaffordable,
unaffordable or untouchable.
That means someone's making a lot of money when it is being sold, though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't either.
No. I mean, we're still looking at checks and balances, right?
Yeah.
Key with real estate, you always get an appraiser, and it's not going to appraise out. If it's going to appraise out eventually. But look at what happened with the Robbie coming into Logan Square. All these people who have like the hotel that's there now. It's got a cool, rooftop, and so you're getting people from other neighborhoods who are coming in to use the hotel, but also people from outside. You're not just getting visitors coming into the Gold Coast and Streeterville. Now they're coming into the to the actual neighborhoods. And so I think it brings in, it attracts new buyers and attracts more money to be spent in the local restaurants. So yeah, it's always an up and up.
Yeah, I don't have any cons. The biggest pro I would have is when my wife kicks me out.
You're gonna stay there.
I can just walk on over to someplace and crash without having
And
a
my
car.
con is that Nick is on loose and he's out in our neighborhoods.
I will probably have a membership at that hotel, a tab
yes,
that's running.
probably ongoing.
She will kick me out over and over again.
So everybody know where to find Nick then when he gets kicked out. He'll be at 310 North Peoria.
310 North Pier if you're looking for
With
me.
pictures of Graco everywhere. I love it.
My shrine. That's a wrap.
Wrap it up.
I want to thank Melissa and Tina, both from Sergio and Banks. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Just want to make sure I said it right. Sergio and Banks, for joining us today. Thank you for your input.
Thank you for having us.
Top 4 reasons on how to sell top
you.
4 things you need to know in order to sell your house quickly, or in less than a week, I should say. Thanks to, of course, Graco. Even though you have no voice, you did an all right job, and we tried our best to carry you today. Graco from iLoan, and of course, my co-host, Karla Mina of Coldwell Banker. You can find this show in the archives at marketoverdrive.com and our YouTube channel as well at Market Overdrive. Facebook /Market Overdrive. The feed is there live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. And of course, if you want to find it in the catalog, you can go grab it anytime you want, 2 a.m. if you want. We are part of the WGN Radio Network.
If you have any questions for Nick and I, you can always reach us at info@marketoverdrive.com. And if you have a topic that you'd like to share or you'd like us to cover on our show, please make sure that you also email us at info@marketoverdrive.com.
Yep. And last but not least, you can always go to the WGN Radio podcast, that whole area, find us along with the rest of the family, and subscribe to us. If you want to listen to this show every Thursday at 5 a.m. for all I care, but it's there. Subscribe to it.
If you're bored,
you know how to find
share.
us, and if you can't find us, you can call us. So have
Can
yourself
we get
a good.
a
You can
contact
get
number for Sergio and Banks
Absolutely.
for you guys?
Yep.
Really quick.
Sure.
Okay.
Cell phone number?
Melissa.
trick question.
She's
Whatever you want,
afraid.
guys.
She's like,
How can we reach you?
You can reach us at sergioandbanks.com, Melissa at sergioandbanks.com, or Tina at sergioandbanks.com.
And you know what? You can.
just Google their names and look up Google that 7. What did it sell for?
7.5.
7.5.
7.5. Just Google it. You're going to find them. Amazing results, ladies. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
coming
for
out,
choosing.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you. See you guys next week, Thursday, 2 p.m.
Yay.
So
Yay. How do we do? Good?